If you have an opinion that's considered anti-woke, you might soon join a growing list of people who've had their accounts closed by totalitarian UK banks. Even an Anglican vicar fell foul of this worrying new purge when he aired his views on Yorkshire Building Society's Pride agenda. And now it turns out that more than half of the major high street banks have signed up to a diversity scheme run by discredited LGBT charity Stonewall, which does have some pretty, well, fruity views, interesting views, I suppose. I am joined now by human rights and LGBT campaigner Peter Tatchell. Peter, thank you very much. Are you concerned that banks could use this as a way of going, well, you have contravened our ethical code and therefore we don't want you to bank with us anymore?
Well, as you know, I disagree with Nigel Farage on many issues, but it is absolutely outrageous that his bank account has been closed. And this idea that banks should be acting as censors to close accounts of people whose opinions they disagree with, that is totally unacceptable. And it's yet another example of the way in which banks are unaccountable. And the Financial Conduct Authority has failed to regulate them because no one, whatever their opinion, providing it's lawful and not inciting violence, no one should have their bank account closed.
And I don't know, I mean, I'll ask you, I suppose, find out what you think. But as an LGBT campaigner who I think it's fair to say, Peter, is relatively positive about Stonewall and everything that they say or do, really, I would potentially be quite worried that banks might use Stonewall for quite nefarious reasons to, like I said, go, well, you don't share our values, and therefore that could be an excuse for them to shut your bank account down, which I don't really think anyone who supports Stonewall would really want, would they?
No, of course not. And Stonewall has no involvement whatsoever in banking operations. It doesn't seek to influence banking policy. It simply provides workplace advice on how to make workplaces safer and more comfortable for LGBT plus employees. And most of the work it does is about discrimination issues, harassment issues that everybody would agree are unacceptable in the workplace.
This
report that you reference, they've only cited 3 examples of people who've had their bank accounts closed. And even in those cases, it's not actually proven that they were closed because of their political beliefs. It may be the case, but it's not been proven.
It's
and
because
no
they won't tell you
said that we have closed their account because of their political views.
No, exactly. It's incredibly difficult, though, to be able to tell, as Nigel has found out, really. Why? Because banks feel absolutely no obligation whatsoever to tell you the real reasons behind it, which is why people have to try and put 2 and 2 together. And then when people look at the pattern of people who have been biffed by their banks, you start to maybe think, well, this is kind of what it's about, really. But don't Stonewall do some kind of league table of companies or corporations? They rate them as being, oh, you are the pinnacle of what we are asking to do. Is that right? I mean, what would a company have to do to become, number one on Stonewall's list? And frankly, why should companies care?
Well, the companies care because Stonewall's advice has actually helped them be better companies, get more out of their employees, and create better harmony in the workplace. So Stonewall is dedicated for LGBT plus people, but equally, employers should be concerned about age discrimination based on class or income, discrimination based on gender or ethnicity. It makes good sense for companies to have inclusive, diverse policies, because that way they attract the most talented people. And we know from the research that's been done, LGBT plus employees who are not treated well in the workplace will leave their companies and go elsewhere. So that company perhaps has trained that person up. They lose them. That's a loss of investment. So it's in their interest to have policies to keep the employees happy and content and to ensure there is no harassment or bullying in the workplace.
What about harassment or bullying of people that think that women are women and men are men, and that there can be no kind of grey area about that? Because I think that would be something that I would be concerned about if I worked in a bank that had signed up to this kind of Stonewall charter or whatever it is, basically seems to be saying that they agree with Stonewall's ideology. And actually, that is an ideology that is contested by biological, scientific and medical fact and a lot of religions.
Well, bullying, full stop, is never acceptable against anyone for any reason. Everybody must be able to work at their place of employment without suffering harassment or bullying. So that's very clear. I mean, with regard to Stonewall, they have, they do some work on gender identity issues. That's true. But it's only a very small fragment of the overall work they do. So most of it is focused on lesbian, gay and bisexual people. They work primarily in that area, in that space. But I would say that, yes, of course, people would understandably be concerned if they felt undue pressure. But I think just as many companies now have good employment policies with regard to women and black people, many are now trying to have good policies for lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender employees. Okay. But, if you have a critical view, I will on gender identity, I will challenge you and you will challenge me, and that's fair, but we don't bully each other or abuse each other.
And I don't want, and with respect, I don't want to see you have your bank account
very confused about. Biological sex is a reality, and most women are women based on their biological sex. But there's a small minority of women, trans women, whose female identity is based on their gender identity, which scientific evidence shows is influenced in part by brain structures and processes. Okay. So that also means that their identity has a biological root as well. And I think that rather than fighting each other, I think we need to find the common ground between women and trans women. There's a lot of common ground. They all suffer from discrimination.
I think unfortunately,
sexual assault.
I think unfortunately, well, look, you and I, as you well know, completely differ on that. And I think unfortunately, as long as there is some push for that common ground to be where they might go to the toilet, or what prison that they might be in, or what changing room their children get changed in schools, I'm not sure that we are ever going to agree on that. But Peter, I do always enjoy our chats. And take care. It's Peter Tatchell there, who's human rights campaigner, LGBT campaigner as well. Look, we obviously got this campaign going at the minute, Don't Kill Cash.